There's a pretty compelling rule in British politics I've come to learn, which is this, that if the left can be blamed for something, at some point they probably will be. And so we heard today from Neil Kinnock that it's the left's fault that Farage might have a chance at the next general election. Here's Neil Kinnock talking to Sky News.
How serious a threat do you think a Corbyn-led party to the left of Labour is going to be?
Well, I understand they're having a bit of difficulty overthinking up a name. And I, in a comradely way, I'd suggest one. It would be the Farage Assistance Group. Because the reality is, and everybody knows it, a division in the anti-conservative, capital C or small c, anti-right-wing vote can only assist the parties of the right, the Conservatives especially now, under Mrs. Badenoch, and under Farage, the Reform Party. So the splintering, fragmentation offered by a new party of the left, as they say, I've got my doubts about that, but of the left, can only be of assistance to the enemies of Labour, of the working class, the people who have no means of sustaining themselves other than the sale of their labour by hand and by brain, and can only be of benefit to the egos of those who are running such a party. And they haven't decided who should do that yet either.
Now, the argument put by Kinnock and people like him is that the formation of a new left party is going to split the vote on the left, if you can call Starmer's Labour the left, and that will create space for Nigel Farage and Reform to come through, and it's going to make it a lot easier for him to win a general election. Now look, I don't disagree with any of that. I think there is truth in that argument. It is clearly the strategy of a left party, if it is to form, to take votes away from Labour on its left. But we've got to start by asking the question, why is it that the left are forming new parties and organising within the Green Party to try and build a left position within British politics in the first place? And the answer lies at the door of Keir Starmer and those around him. After all, it was Keir Starmer who became leader of the Labour Party by promising Corbynism without Corbyn and by promising unity. His pitch, essentially, for the leadership was that he was going to situate himself on the left, or the soft left, and that he was going to lead a broad church Labour Party that could unite all of the factions. But that was never his intention. I don't need to go through the chronology of this. What he ended up doing was he moved to the right and he went to war against the left. We saw this at the last election. We saw this with the deselecting of left-wing candidates to be replaced with right-wing candidates parachuted in. We saw this with Corbyn being suspended in the first place, with disciplinary matters being used to get rid of left-wing MPs, left, right and centre, with left-wing members being expelled from the party. There has been open war against the left. And so it seems a little bit much for figures on the Labour right, and that is where I would put Kinnock now after a long journey in that direction. It seems a bit rich for them to now be saying, having forced the left out of the party, that it is now our fault that we are organising something outside of Labour. We would have been, well, most of us, would have been more than happy to remain in the Labour Party. Many of us, in fact, stayed in the Labour Party for a very long period of time, hoping that something would change, that Starmer would end up being different from what many of us feared. Many people on the left are still in the Labour Party, hoping to organise within the Labour Party rather than outside of it. So, look, I guess what I want to say is quite simple. It is not the left's fault that we're being forced to organise outside of the Labour Party. We're not welcome in the Labour Party. It's as simple as that. And the second point I want to make is this. If you're going to blame somebody for the rise of Farage, you should look a little bit closer to home. Because the whole reason why people are looking for an alternative in politics is because mainstream politics is not delivering. There's a feeling amongst the public that all politicians are the same, and this apathy and discontentment with mainstream politics people being discontent with the Conservative Party because of the shambles under Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, people losing faith with Starmer because he's promised change and really hasn't delivered it, and instead of trying to deliver some change for working people, he seems to be attacking the disabled, the elderly, not helping children in poverty, not really doing what you'd expect the Labour Party to do. So is it any wonder in those circumstances where the mainstream parties seem to be incapable of delivering the change that the country needs, that people are looking to alternatives and looking at reform? And look, I might sound a bit frustrated here, and I am, because I argued exactly this before the election and a long time before that. I said I was worried. I'm still worried because Starmerism, as a form of technocratic managerial politics, doesn't have the resources to see off Nigel Farage. It is his fault that Farage is doing well in the polls, and actually he still remains the only person that can do anything about it. The way of seeing off Farage is to offer genuine change and to win the next election, right? The left can't do that. And if a new left party does form, well, how do you beat them? You beat them by delivering change. It's exactly the same formula. So look, very simple message to those that argue that the left are somehow responsible for the rise of Farage. It's just not the case. Farage is doing well because mainstream politics is failing to deliver, and the fault lies with mainstream politicians like the Prime Minister. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you for joining me for this brief video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. As ever, goodbye, best wishes.